And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. That's right, it is time for Coffee Talk Live or at Coffee Talk Live and Prepper University on YouTube, simultaneously broadcasting Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as at Coffee Talk Chat on X, formerly known as Twitter, and fistfulofradio.com, where they podcast the show Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon, if you care to check that out. So, welcome, one and all, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, as we get ready to dive into what is going on in the world today and taking a look at the news. We will look at some clips from the news, some of the rarities, some of the absurdities, some of the ridiculousness that is our life. And of course, I do read as many of the comments as is reasonable to try to help those of you who are listening and not able to see keep up with the conversation. And I'll go ahead and I'll name off some of those individuals. Helter is here. Urban Angst is here. Donna Beaver reminding people thumbs up, like, and share. Please do. I don't think it actually helps with the algorithm, but I appreciate it. Dragon is here. Boogers is here. Sven from unoccupied Michigan with the chair against the door. No kidding. Fluke Man is here. Cyberjack Sr. joining us today, as well as Dilo and Dusty. If you saw at the very beginning there, I showed Dusty. She's actually laying on the desk right in front of me, keeping me company. I'll show her one more time for good measure. Maybe that'll help with the algorithm. Anything at all that'll help with the algorithm. Give me a freaking break here. Oh, by the way, Coffee Talk is in the negative now. Coffee Talk is in the negative. I have, according to them, negative subscribers, which basically means that they're dropping people off again. So watch out for that. Watch out that you don't get unsubscribed without warning, because that's usually what that means. Thanks a lot, guys. That's how it goes, huh? That's how you're going to treat your boy. And, I'm not in the boat alone, because I'm pretty sure it's happening to thousands upon thousands of so-called content creators, as ScrewTube likes to refer to us as content creators. That's their moniker for people that put videos up on the platform. I'm sure there are thousands and thousands of us that they are doing it to. And I'm sure some of them are getting a lot worse than me. Wouldn't surprise me at all. As we get ready to dive into the news, another major distraction for you all. Another major distraction for you all, so that you won't pay attention to what's actually going on in the world. And this is the new theme for 2024, because the very first story that I covered January 1st was a story just like this. Are you ready for it? Who remembers that story? Because I said it at that time. I was like, get ready. This is going to be what they're going to throw out on you for the whole rest of the year as a distraction. And I see Occult Prepper has joined us. Glad you could make it. And this is a Metro News article. Zigzagging UFO spotted hovering above nuclear power plant in India. Oh, all right. Got to watch out for that. Got to watch out for them UFOs flying over Indian power plants now. As you may recall, some of you, that the very first story, I believe it was the very first story that I read on January 1st, it was UFOs zigzagging over Poland and the Ukraine. Now it's India. Yeah, they're called drones. A UFO doesn't mean it's freaking aliens, but that's the angle that we're working. So stay on top of it. Here we are. Footage has emerged showing a suspected UFO zigzagging above a nuclear power plant. The mysterious bright lights were spotted hovering repeatedly above the largest nuclear station in India, sparking concerns over its safety. Indian police investigator Syed Abdul Kadir, filmed a bright speck of light making darting movements in the night sky above the plant. He fears the flying object is an extraterrestrial visitor, and he's not the only one concerned over it. For years, India's leading UFO expert, Sabir Hussain, with backing from former U.S. military experts, has urged for more serious action after several unexplained sightings near the country's nuclear facilities. Yeah, okay. The UFO sighting, Kadir's shaky video. Yeah, of course it's shaky. It's never clear. Everybody has a damn 4K phone on camera on their phone now. We still can't get a clear picture of a freaking UFO. Shows a bright dot flying roughly at the altitude of an airplane on August 8 last year. The excited UFO spotter told his wife as he followed the unusual object, "It's shaking when it's moving. It's going up and down," he claimed. "The way it moves means this could never be an airplane." Speaking to Mail Online, he said it's a southern direction. It's standing or hovering in the direction of the Kudankulam nuclear power plant. His wife can be heard saying on the video obtained by the outlet, "It's always coming in at this time when it's not too dark, not too bright. I've seen this many times." And there it is. There's your UFO footage, ladies and gentlemen. That little white spot on this grainy photograph. There's your UFO. It's the 60s all over again. We're doing this now. And Donna says, "I am a positive." Thank you, Donna. I appreciate it. And Sean is here, checking in from Northern Illinois. Ragnar is here. And Flukeman says they've been watching Crime Watch UK show dedicated to catching criminals. Aired from the 80s to 2000s. I'm surprised some 40 years ago, people back then actually tried to stop armed robbers. Yeah, now they just let you do whatever and try to catch you later. Helter says likely a foreign drone spying on the plant. Some unmanned drones are just as agile as civilian quadcopters. Yes, that would be my suspicion, but no, aliens. It's aliens. And then here's another shot of it. Oh yeah, that's clear as a bell. Totally a UFO from another universe. Absolutely. The alleged sighting could be caused by the constant camera movement. Sometimes planets like Jupiter and Mercury or Sirius stars have been mistakenly reported as UFOs, but common bright planets don't offer an explanation to Kadir's sighting, which was captured at 7:30 p.m. local time. Mail Online reports a sky map for his hometown, Tirunelveli, shows that Venus was completely obscured at the time. Below the western horizon and below the sunset, the outlet argued. The nuclear plant is located around 50 miles south of Tirunelveli, near the Indian southern tip. Yeah, I'm totally convinced by that picture. Now, that obviously is not it. I don't know why they show this. Kadir's wife is heard saying it's so close before she asks how come no one else is seeing this, because it's total hogwash. That's why. The police officer replies, "No, that's why the DGP, or Director General of Police, himself has seen it. And that's why everyone is talking about this." Around the same time as Kadir sighting, other reported spotting aliens on the eastern coast of Nilankari, Mahabalipuram, on the outskirts of Chennai. They saw aliens. Okay, the area is home to the Madras Atomic Power Station in Kapalakam. UFO specialist Sabir Hussain, director of the Indian Society for UFO Studies in Chennai, was the first to obtain Kadir's video. And this obviously is stock footage from something. That's not what they saw. I don't know why they're showing this. Now they say they saw aliens. Somebody saw aliens. Yeah, okay. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And Bob67 is here, says it's raining in the UK. It's always raining in the UK. Sven said, just like idiots not taking parallax into account when videoing. And Tim said, checking in from northern Wyoming. Glad you could make it, Tim. Dragon said, everybody is flying drones on everyone else. Yeah, they're all over the place now. And Nature Nerd said, UFO people get excited about a speck in the sky. Too bad the telescope app doesn't exist yet. Yeah, you know, they have that attachment you can put on your phone. But regardless, I mean, a light somewhere in the sky and you don't even know how far away it is, that could be any damn thing. But they keep wanting to push this UFO agenda this year for some reason, and it's really kind of ridiculous. And Sven said they spotted an alien killing an American. Did he eat his leg? if some of you are familiar with that story from California. Flukeman says, is this the 50s? It was hot news back then when they were talking. Why are they talking about it now? Misdirection or just some fool been watching too much X-Files? It's misdirection because these UFO stories keep cropping up. You didn't hear that crap for a long time. Remember? When's the last time you were really hearing groupings of UFO stories? The late 90s, early 2000s, maybe? And then, funny enough, when everybody started having a camera, right? Because always it was some shitty, grainy photo that you don't know what the hell it is. And most of them were faked anyways, what they now call photoshopped. Now everybody's got a phone. And on that phone is cameras and filming capacity. And ever since then, you didn't hear any of these stories anymore. It's been like almost 20 years. Now all of a sudden we're doing this again. And the images still look like crap. No explanation. Oh man. But that's the direction. It's more distraction to keep you from worrying about what's really going on in the world. Or if you're there are some in the Christian faith who believe that UFOs are actually demons flying around in the upper atmosphere. I kid you not. I kid you not. And I think it's Hope for Our Times Ministry has a lot of videos on the subject. Hope for Our Times Ministry. I want to say, I could be wrong, but they've got a ton of videos on the subject. A lot of people roped into that thinking that it's demons flying around and that the government wants you to think it's aliens so that when the resurrection happens, can't make this stuff up, so that when the resurrection happens, they can cover it up and pretend it was an alien invasion instead of the rapture. I don't know about that, guys. I don't know about that one, but that is a narrative that is out there for the whole UFO theory, which of course is not biblically supported. There's nothing in the Bible that I'm aware of about demons flying around in the upper atmosphere. Am I wrong? Pretty sure there's nothing there. As we move around to the next story, I ought to find one of their articles and read it so you can see that I'm not just making this up. Again, you're in front of the computer. A lot of you guys, you can look this stuff up for yourself. And I invite people to, so that you realize I'm not just inventing it as I go. The world is crazy, and all I do is kind of showcase it a little bit. I try to point out the obvious. I think I'm good at that, if nothing else. Flukeman says, next everyone will be talking about Bigfoot, brown blurry dots, impossible to identify what it is, but they'll say it's hairy. Yeah, you haven't heard very many of the Bigfoot or Loch Ness Monster stories or anything anymore since people have camera phones either. And Urban says, demons are going to stay low to the ground, take it easy, watch people as they sin. Yeah, exactly. As we shift gears here, we're going to jump to New York. Something else the lawmakers in New York are doing to piss everybody off. They just can't stop. And this article comes from Savvy Dime. Savvy Dime, outrage. You may have heard this, as the FDNY firefighters have been ordered to take down the American flag tribute to 9/11. It's offensive, apparently. Seriously, this happened. So here we go. The fire department of New York faced a significant controversy when Ladder Company in the East Village was instructed to remove American flags with a red line. The flag was meant to honor the memory of 6 firefighters who lost their lives during 9/11 attack. The instruction followed a complaint that labeled the flag as potentially, quote, politically charged symbolism. Yeah. So the New York Post reports the situation escalated when an individual claiming to be a staffer for Democratic Manhattan Councilwoman Carla Rivera approached firefighters at Ladder Company 11. Riding up on a bicycle, the individual expressed concerns over the flag, suggesting it was a fascist symbol and questioning its continued display outside the firehouse. And, without digging too much into the article, here's the thing. When you see a flag like that, who doesn't know what that is? If you see an American flag that has a blue line, you know that's a memorial for police. If you see a flag, an American flag, and this is the faded flag, the black and white standard, but with a colored line, and that was shown in the first image there. When you see the flag with the red line, as pictured there, you know that that's supposed to represent firefighters. And in this case, it was for firefighters from that district who lost their lives during the 9/11 incident, being asked to remove their flag because it's offensive. And people know what the hell that flag means, and this person is just stirring up mess because they can. In correspondence with the fire department, a staff member for Councilwoman Rivera's office inquired about the flag, highlighting a constituent's concern that it might be an unauthorized political symbol. The inquiry underlined the complexity of using certain symbols on public property, sparking debate about what is appropriate for display on public vehicles. If they had a rainbow flag up there, would anybody complain? Or rather, I imagine people would complain. Let me rephrase that. Would anyone take the complaint seriously enough to even say anything to them? Somehow, I don't think so. The FDNY has specific rules against displaying altered versions of the American flag on their equipment, a policy established in 2020 during a period of heightened social and political tension. This rule became the focal point of the debate as the department grappled with honoring fallen firefighters while adhering to its own regulations. So Deputy Chief Joseph Shinarli, did I pronounce that right? Shirali, visiting the firehouse, delivered the order to remove the flag, citing a violation of department policy against altered flags. Yeah, kick the families of those fallen firefighters right in the ass, why don't you? Despite agreeing with the firefighters on the importance of the flag, Shirali emphasized the need to comply with existing guidelines, underscoring the tension between department policy and the desire to honor fallen comrades. You know what this makes me think of, actually? It makes me think of an episode of Married with Children. It's let me see. I'll catch up a couple of comments here really quick. Urban says the 50 stars have been replaced with 50 ice cream gender colors. And Nature Nerd says it's hypocritical when people believe chemtrails are causing superstorms while denying climate change by humans. I think the first one believes people caused more weather charge than the other one. And Zane has joined us here today. It makes me think of an episode of Married with Children. There was an episode when their lives were being paralleled on a Fox television series show. The daughter was dating someone and telling stories of what went on in the house to a writer, and the writer thought it was interesting and decided to write a script with it, and the script flew, and they put it up as an actual show. And there was the whole thing where Al Bundy was like, hey, wait a minute, that's actually about us. We should be getting something for this. We should get money for this. And they went and had an argument, but then Fox canceled the show because one old woman called and complained about it, that she didn't like it. And that's what that makes me think of. One person called the councilwoman and whined, and then she marched down there, or sent her aide down there, because Lord knows she's not going to address it herself, to order them to confront them and order it to be brought down, basically insulting the families of the people that flag was meant to represent by turning one of their own regulations against them. All People says there's a rapture, but there's a return, but there's no rapture. The rapture idea was fabricated by Jesuits like Ribera de Lacunza, Bellarmine, etc., and Protestants like Darby, MacDonald, Schofield. I know it's a modern concept. It's a concept that didn't exist 100 years ago, even, I don't think, at least not in a widespread sense. And Semper Fi is here joining us today. We were just wrapping up talking about the firefighters in New York being ordered to take down a commemorative American flag meant to honor fallen comrades during 9/11. Just something else New York is doing. to make people hate it there. To make people hate it there. And speaking of someone making people hate things, we may as well talk about Bill Gates, because we haven't mentioned him in a while. But yeah, he's still in the news. And apparently he's the root cause of some of the curriculum changes that we've seen in schools over the last few years. I see Moki has joined us. Glad you could make it today. As we jump to something about Bill Gates, and this is a Fox News article. See if this pops up on time, or if it's going to get weird. Come on, Restream. Here we go. Bill Gates' money is behind the perverse curriculum teaching math instruction is white supremacy. Well, apparently Bill Gates is responsible for that. So there we are. Billionaire Bill Gates has invested billions of dollars in education. Oh, hold still. Billions of dollars in education over the years, notably bolstering far-left ideas, including assertions that mathematics instruction is white supremacy and children are born sexual. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation funded a curriculum called A Pathway to Equitable Math Instruction, which is run by the Education Trust West. The organization listed the Gates Foundation under its acknowledgement section for the curriculum on their website, stating, "We also wish to thank Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for their generous financial support of this project." The curriculum from the Educational Trust West, titled Dismantling Racism in Mathematics Instruction, offers tips and tricks to educators to turn mathematicians in K through 12 schools into anti-racist math educators. That's a quote, anti-racist math educators. It also offered exercises for educators to reflect on their own biases to transform their instructional practice. That is maddeningly insane. Teachers have a central role in, quote, deconstructing racism in mathematics and dismantling white supremacy in math classrooms by making visible the toxic characteristics of white supremacy culture within its respect to math. So Bill Gates is the one who's at the root of a lot of this, apparently. And it's been revealed here in the last couple of days. Parents Defending Education's Nicole Neely told Fox News Digital the Gates funding the math equity program is perverse, especially given the success he derived from proficiency in the subject. Yes, being at the forefront of the computer industry, the whole thing with Microsoft, you can make your arguments there. It's awful. I mean, the part where it says showing your answer in math class is white supremacy culture, I have to take a step back and think, the people who are teaching this, is that what they're teaching their own children? I have to think not, she said. You hope so. About 40% of Gates's K through 12 educational budget goes into math, according to Education Week. In 2022, the Gates Foundation announced over $1 billion in funds for math education. Yeah, provided it's done his way. So math is racist, according to Bill Gates. It doesn't get weirder than this, folks. How is math racist? I challenge anyone to explain this to me. It makes no sense. Semper Fi says New York City is a crap hole. Their Manhattan autonomous zone with signs, no cops and no Zionists. Wow. Urban says Bill Gates makes millionaires via capitalism and then proceeds to push socialism, or makes millions via capitalism, excuse me. There is a certain programmer symmetry there, I suppose. And Dragon says make everyone equally stupid in order to combat some people not trying as hard as others. So this is how the movie Idiocracy becomes a documentary. Exactly. And hey, there it is. I just got my prompt, ladies and gentlemen. YouTube has just let me know that I am live. They just sent me the announcement because I am subscribed to with notifications on to my own channels so that I can get notified to see how long it takes. 2 minutes or excuse me, I'm way off. 25 minutes in. 25 minutes in, I just got it. That's faster than yesterday. I believe yesterday it was at the 31-minute mark. 31-minute mark. Helter says it's not education anymore, it's indoctrination. Sounds like they just want to dumb the kids down some more so they can't think for themselves. And Zane says they don't understand the math education debacle. What's the problem with this? What's the problem with them telling you that math is racist? Does it make sense that math is racist? And Lunatic Fringe says homeschool your kids or lose them. I agree. I absolutely agree. Homeschool your children while you can, if you can, and unless you have other options. I mean, I would first homeschool, second private school, and if you think you can't homeschool, there are groups in pretty much every area in the country that would be more than willing to help you. More than willing to help you to keep your child away from this system. It's toxic. It's absolutely toxic at this point. And if you have no alternative but to have your kid in public school, then if you have no alternative than to have your child in public school, they must be debriefed every day. And I'll run it over again since it comes up from time to time for those of you who have not heard it. By debriefing, I do not mean asking your child how their day went, because they're going to lie and tell you it was fine when it wasn't. And if you ask them what they learned, you're wasting your time because they didn't learn anything. Okay? By debriefing, I mean finding out what kind of garbage they try to spoon feed your kid all day and deprogramming it to the best of your ability. Nature Nerd says Bill Gates is a supervillain. He wants to control the school curriculum. Nature Nerd said disappointed Bill Gates doesn't want to teach computer-based 2 and 16 math. And Zane says they're making the math easier. Amongst other things, yes. They're dumbing it down considerably because I guess math being challenging, and it's not for everybody. Math is not for everybody. Math being challenging apparently is racist. But math in itself is a language, and you have to learn that language, and some people are really good at it, some are not. But you have to do the best you can with what you have, and making it easy and stupid and then telling people that it's racist if it's hard doesn't make any sense. And all people said 2 + 2 = 22, and anyone who disagrees is a racist. There you go. And Fluke Man said, didn't Gates say he wants to cut all the trees down because they're bad for the environment? I heard that. I don't know if he actually said it, though. I have heard that, though. And while we're at it, a solution for the migrant problem. That's right, a solution for the migrant industrial complex. Migrant industrial complex. I thought this was funny. This is a Newsweek article. And I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Migrants are now offered tickets to the Canadian border. Yes, Denver Mayor Mike Johnson. A city already financially sprung from housing of thousands of migrants reportedly told newcomers that it will subsidize travel to other U.S. cities or to the Canadian border. Denver, joined by other Democratic-run cities like Chicago and New York City, has been on the front line of combating an overflow of migrants who have, hold still, sorry, it's bouncing. Let me catch that paragraph up so I can read it correctly. Who have crossed into the country from the southern border. Denver Mayor Mike Johnson said in February that his city, the largest in Colorado, was running out of space for migrants and shelters and began a multi-week discharge in what has been described as the largest per capita surge of migrants into one area in the entire United States. The city coffers have already run thin, spending more than $58 million as of last month to deal with the incoming migrants. As of March 31st, 40,283 migrants have entered the city, in total amounting to about 5.6% of Denver's population. That is a dangerously high number. It does, you say, 5.6%, that's not a lot. Yeah, the hell it is when you're talking about population control and what that entails. It says, including 61 newcomers Easter Sunday. There are 754 migrants sheltered, according to the city's migrant dashboard. Where are the rest of them? Sleeping at the airport? You don't have to walk anywhere. We can buy you a free ticket. You can go to any city. We can take you to the Canadian border or wherever. I love that. That's the solution now. Let's dump them in Canada. We'll dump them in Canada. That's what you're going to do. Urban says, dear migrants to Vancouver, please ensure you have at least $3,000 for your first bachelor suite, nothing included, laundry down the street. Yeah, and Semper Fi says the left is goading the right, trying to instigate a crisis. Zane says, nowadays all numbers are standardized Arabic. Is that imperialist and racist? I guess so. I don't know what to say. Because, I mean, what are the three hubs of mathematics globally from history's accounting? China, the Arabic nations, and Greece. So I guess the Arabic people and the Chinese are also racist by that logic. So he said he also said that the clip in question was just a small part of the work Carrera and others on his team have put in to help newcomers. Basically, he's figured out what I've been saying the whole time. It's cheaper to get rid of them. Only since they can't repatriate them back to where they came from, his idea is to send them somewhere else in the United States, which is how Denver ended up with them in the first place. Just keep shifting them around. We'll send you anywhere, and probably hoping that if they dump them on the Canadian border, maybe they'll cross over. I love it. And Paul Burke has joined us here today. Glad you could make it, Paul. And Flukeman says Antarctic is a very large piece of land with a tiny population. Yeah, maybe they can live in the Antarctic. They can hunt seals, walruses. I thought that was fantastic. That was fantastic. That's exactly what needs to be done. You want them urban? We'll send them all to Canada. No, I wouldn't wish that on you. They need to be ejected from the Western world entirely if they're not actually going to contribute anything. If all they're going to do is take, they don't need to be here. And if all they're going to do is protest and stir up mess, they don't need to be here. They can go back where they came from. That's my take on it. Period. We're going to jump to the Supreme Court, I think. Yes, Supreme Court. Setting a precedence that's not very good. Shouldn't come as a surprise. USA Today article. Supreme Court rejects a case from fired worker denied jobless benefits after refusing vaccines. As you know, during the pandemic, when the C virus was all the rage, there were mandates, and they forced a lot of people to take a shot that they did not want to take. And many people lost their jobs as a result. They were terminated for refusing. And so was this person. And they took it to court and apparently have lost. And I think this is interesting, and it sets a bad precedence. Supreme Court on Monday rejected the appeal of a Minnesota woman who said she was wrongfully denied unemployment benefits after being fired for refusing to be vaccinated for the C virus because of her religious beliefs. The Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development determined she wasn't eligible for benefits because her reasons for refusing the vaccination were based less on religion and more on a lack of that the vaccine was effective. And apparently she was right, because it doesn't look like that crap works, does it? The case shows that the vaccine debate continues to smolder after the pandemic and after the Supreme Court in 2022 halted enforcement of a Biden administration vaccine or testing mandate for large employers, but declined to hear challenges to the administration's C virus vaccine mandates for healthcare facilities that receive federal funding. Still pending is an appeal from military chaplains who challenged the military's vaccination requirements. Although the requirement was later rescinded at the direction of Congress, the chaplains argue they lost out on training opportunities and promotions because they requested religious exemptions. Minnesota said the unemployment benefit appeal denied Monday wasn't worth the Supreme Court's time because benefits have been given to others who were found to have a sincerely held religious objection to the vaccination, so there's no overcharging question to address. But who determines, and this is the question, just because they say that they let it slide with some people, there's a lot of people that were not granted that religious exemption and were not lost their jobs and were not allowed to collect unemployment. And that's what this case was about. Who determined and how that they felt that no faith in the vaccination was the key component and not this person's religious beliefs? How do you determine that? How do you know she's whether she's exaggerating or telling the truth? I mean, it could be that she just claimed a religious exemption as a way to get out of this. Wow, I really don't want to do this. Religious exemption. But can you prove that? And Fluke Man says it depends on the religion. If you're a Christian, it's FU, but if you're a Muslim, they're scared of you. Yeah, and you know, there's so many different denominations of this, that, and the other. How do you know? How do you know what's what? And Urban says, I'm still in disbelief any court can uphold economically forced vaccinations. I hope Canada's lawsuits go a bit further. It's hard to say. It's hard to say, but I thought, you know, this sets a precedence because now the Supreme Court has thrown it out. This gives other courts the excuse to completely throw this out. Because whether it's a religious exemption or not, nobody should be able to force you to take a vaccination. Nobody should be able to force you, religious exemption or not. And it's a shame that this is what it's come to in the Western world and other countries that are not Western, because we've seen it all over, where they have essentially forced the issue on people, cost them their livelihood. You want to talk about Mark of the Beast? Here's an example. I know it's not in your hand or on your forehead, and that is not necessarily a physical mark, by the way, because a lot of people say, "Oh, well, they're trying to chip people. It's in your hand. It's the mark of the beast." That's metaphoric. Remember, a lot of the Bible is metaphoric. In your hand and on your head means that it's in your deeds, essentially, and in your works. A mark on your head or something that you wear on your head is a mark of what you do. And in your hands is a mark of how you do it, if I'm describing that correctly. So it's not necessarily an actual physical mark. And Urban says, as Trudeau reminded Canadians, we never forced anyone to vaccinate because coercion is still a choice, I guess. Yeah, exactly. They never forced anybody. Sure, they did. Not directly. Not directly. Now, here's a story that's getting buried. You may not have seen this. And where did this take place? I think it's Pennsylvania. I'm waiting for the article to pop up so that I can share it. I can share it here. But again, yeah, you lost your livelihood. You lost your job for something that they don't even know if it works. That has very questionable side effects and after effects now that people are wondering about, that they can't do anything about because they were given an exemption. You can't sue these companies. The Independent article, chilling confession of 13-year-old girl accused of murdering her mother and stabbing a boy after her phone was taken away. There's a specific reason I'm reading this article. You're not really hearing about this. 13-year-old girl claimed she killed her mother in a chilling confession to Pennsylvania authorities after they found a female victim with wounds to her head and torso. Lithonia Powell was taken into custody Friday after police responded to a scene where they found an unresponsive 44-year-old victim with multiple apparent stab wounds and an 11-year-old boy also with stab wounds in the back. I quote, "I killed my mom, and she'll never forgive me if she's alive," Miss Powell, who was identified by local outlets, reportedly told police, according to documents obtained by WYOU. While being taken into custody and put in the back of a police vehicle, 13-year-old told the outlet that she felt regret, guilt, and self-disgust. It's a little late now. The authorities also found an 11-year-old boy with stab wounds in the back. They appeared to be non-life-threatening, according to the outlet. That's her being arrested. They're not showing you her face, obviously, because she's a juvenile, dressed in what looks like pajamas. The Wilkes-Barre City Police Department said in a statement the second victim was transported to the hospital for treatment. Ms. Powell is being charged as an adult with criminal homicide, aggravated assault, and other related charges. The police responded to the location at around 12:30 p.m. after reports of an unresponsive woman. The woman was suffering from wounds on her torso and head area, police said, with reporting that there was heavy blood flow coming from her head. Coroner's office responded to the scene, pronounced the victim deceased. Autopsies will be carried out. Police said the 13-year-old stabbed her mother during an argument and threw the weapon on the neighbor's doorstep, the local outlet reported. While in custody, Ms. Powell reportedly made other comments, according to the outlet, such as, quote, "I don't have my phone because my mom took it before our fight. I'm the reason my mom is dead. I don't know how people can do stuff like this and not feel bad." Gee, me either. Me either. What was her name? Latoya or something? Lithonia Powell. Unbelievable. Authorities noted in the affidavit that no knives or cutting instruments were in plain view, but that the kitchen drawers and cabinets had locks on them. The outlet reported one of the locks appeared to have been broken and a padlock was lying on the ground. So this is not something that the violence is not something unknown to this family. If the drawers have padlocks on them, it's to keep someone from accessing what's in there. This girl has threatened people with a knife before. Diving back to when I used to work for the Juvenile Justice Authority, I've seen and heard of similar things with young girls being extremely violent, pulling knives on people, including family members, cutting siblings, cutting parents, threatening parents with physical violence or death as young as this. One of the girls we had, which was a transfer student, and I'm going to show you something else here in a minute that kind of ties in with this. It's part of the culture, unfortunately, with these young people. They're so narcissistic and so destructive. It's sad and it's frightening, really, that these children are so selfish and awful. You took the girl's phone away, she's going to stab you to death and try to kill her brother too. It's crazy. But they're so selfish, so narcissistic. They don't care about anything. And you can't even discipline them. And they'll challenge you to discipline them. They'll challenge you to it. Like I said, I've seen and heard of many things like this. I had one student or one client once who, she didn't last a day in the facility. She was coming from corrections, from the juvenile detention, where she had been since she was 12. And she was like 18. And they wanted to see if she could transition. And she didn't last the day before she was in a couple of fights. And I called the probation officer and they rearrested her and brought her back. And I found out later, I didn't know at the time when they first brought her, found out later the reason that she had been in juvenile detention since she was 12 years old was because she cut somebody's throat over a boy, apparently slit another girl's throat and killed her. All people said agreed, biblically speaking, right hand means violational actions and forehead means mentality or mindset or perceptions, not speaking of a literal forehead or right hand. Yeah. A lot of things are metaphoric in the Bible, but nobody explains it because a lot of the people who teach the Bible don't know anything about it, because when they went to seminary, they didn't learn about the Bible. Seminary school is like business school for churches. It teaches you how to run a church, but you don't necessarily even crack a Bible open. Helter says parents and society as a whole failing these kids to the point they become apathetic and feel the need to hurt people for attention. Dragon says these kids are being exposed to so much disturbing stuff online, plus the huge rise in mental illness. It's no surprise events like this are occurring. But it just brought me right back, and that's why I showed it. And I want to show something else. I'm going to borrow something from Jason Whitlock here in a moment. Rodney says, damn, the girl looks like the size of an adult. It's the inhalers. And Paul says there's going to be loads more of it when the internet goes down. Yeah. And I say it's the inhalers because, again, when I was with the Juvenile Justice Authority, the pediatrician that we worked with, because remember, I primarily worked with females. My facility was an all-female facility. Many of these girls, really young, 13, 14 years old, huge busts. Their busts were massive. And it's like, God, I don't remember girls being that healthy when I was young. And the pediatrician had told me it's the inhalers. She says that almost all of these kids, everybody that she gets now, they give them a prescription inhaler. And the steroids in it make their busts grow. I don't know if that's true, but that's what she told me. And Fluke Man said you wasn't informed the girl was a murderer until after she arrived. Didn't they give you a full report? No, that wasn't disclosed until afterwards. It wasn't in her binder, because we get a binder with vitals and with other stuff to read through about the client's history and stuff like that. And usually their birth certificate and their social security card, medical card, stuff like that's in their arrest record, things like this. That was omitted. Not sure why. But then, after the probation officer took her away, he was like, yeah, I'm not surprised that she couldn't maintain herself. She's too tied into prison culture now. She slit a girl's throat. That's why she was in there. I'm like, wait a minute. Hold on. She killed somebody? That's great. And you're trying to transition her out. And you see how she acts. No, she needs to be transferred to an adult facility now. Although in juvenile, I think they can hold her until she's 22 and a half, at least in Topeka, where I was. At least in Kansas, it was 22 and a half. Now, again, I'm borrowing something from Jason Whitlock here. Okay, and this is on his Twitter feed. I'm going to see if it comes up. It should work. Okay, pause this. Can I expand this? No, that's too big. Hold on a second. I just want to make sure I can get this to work properly, and I'm going to show you this video clip, and I'm going to explain it for those of you who are listening and not able to see what I'm talking about in this clip. This is part of the problem right here. Again, I borrowed this from Jason Whitlock. He has he's a journalist, former sports writer who has a big YouTube channel. And he talks about a lot of this kind of stuff. This is a birthday party. It's a child's birthday party. All right. And there are two people there in costume wearing, what is it? Toy Story costumes. Okay. Two people wearing Toy Story themed costumes. Is that big enough for everybody to see properly? And I'll go ahead and I'll run it. It's a short clip. I think it's only, let me see here. It's only like 40 seconds long. This is the problem. This is the problem right here. This is what's killing society and the nuclear family right here. And it's being promoted. It's being promoted. You tell me if you can tell what's wrong in this shot. I'm going to turn the music down so I don't get a strike. Actually, I'll shut the music off. It's just some really, really raunchy rap music with stuff that I wouldn't say. Let's put it like this. You see what's going on here? It's a little kid's birthday party. There's toddlers here. There's kids in diapers. It looks like the age range is between 2 and maybe 5. There's this woman carrying a bottle of liquor, grinding on Woody here, who's spanking her. And then the female, I forget the girl's name from Toy Story, is grinding, and a little boy is behind her, bucking up and smacking her ass. Why are you introducing themes like this to children this young? And you don't expect them to grow up in society and be absolutely worthless, to be destructive, to be self-centered. To be hypersexual. Unbelievable. Raccoon says, I guess they named him Woody for a reason. Yeah. And Zane says, that's a dark joke. Rodney says, that's a freaking disturbing video. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And they filmed this and they put it up on their TikTok or whatever the hell, because they're all proud of what's going on here. You're proud of this? You're proud of introducing these kind of concepts to children that are that young, who have no concept of sexuality or even the inklings of it until they hit puberty. Urban says, pedophiles destroy children. Pedophiles in power will destroy an entire generation. And Lunatic says it's a culture problem. Yeah, it is. And they encourage it. And it's like, you can't see something's wrong here. If someone else was doing it, you'd point a finger. But look at this. And I'll shut this off. You've seen this enough, and I've explained it for those of you who can't see what is going on here. All this bumping and grinding between adults and children as young as what look like 2 to me, running around in diapers. Highly inappropriate. Highly inappropriate. And Monkey says Woody and Jess have changed since the last Toy Story. Is that Jess? I only ever saw the first one. And Donna Beaver says, I saw this early this morning. So sick. The women are just trash. Poor kids. Lord help us all. Yeah, and acting like this is normal somehow. I would, if I was in an adult party where everyone was over the age of 21 and this was going on, I wouldn't want to be there. Me personally. You know, you can call me ultra conservative, but I don't like all that. Fluke Man said, this is so bad, even Trump can't fix it, even if he becomes president for 100 years. Zane said that's disturbing. Paul says they should have the children taken away. They would if they were Caucasian. Ow. You never know. You never know. But none of that is appropriate. None of that is appropriate to me. The introduction of sexualization of any type to children that are that young. Child's birthday party, but they get liquor out. Why are you drinking in front of the kids? I don't like all that kind of stuff around children, or drinking, or smoking, or any of that kind of stuff. Children shouldn't see it, in my opinion. Children shouldn't see it. And that does have, actually, believe it or not, or can have, because sometimes no matter how good of a parent you are, you can still have a kid who's just a bad seed. It is possible. It does happen. Excuse me. But you can have a positive influence through your behaviors in that regard. My son that I've talked about before that went to Job Corps, to this day, still has not drank or used any kind of drugs or smoked cigarettes or anything like that, because I never did. He was like, and he's telling me, he's like 28 years old, telling me, I still don't drink. And it's because I never saw you do it, right? I'm like, well, thanks. I did something right, I guess. guess I did something correct. So you can live by a positive example because you can't change anyone else. You can't change people. This is the common mistake made by activists, made by politicians, made by the media. Oh, we're going to change the world. We're going to change this and that. You're not changing shit. All you can do is change yourself and live by example if you're doing the right thing. And fortunately for me, my kid never wanted to drink or smoke or anything like that because I didn't. It left a lasting impression. My sister, too. I have a younger sister. She was born when I was 12. And to this day, still doesn't drink or smoke. Same explanation. You never did. Like, I'm your brother. She was like, you never did. For some reason, it never interested me. And I was like, well, that's kind of a good thing. So I guess I did that right. Fluke Man said, saying something about it is racist. And Urban says, in many parts of Africa and the Middle East, girls are considered adult after menstruation, old enough to bleed, old enough to breed. And so the grooming must start years earlier to normalize it. Yeah, we're talking third world countries in tribal environments, though. When you go to these places, like if you go into South America, you find that the age of consent gets lower and lower and lower until it's almost non-existent in some places. And in industrialized nations, or quote unquote, if I dare say it, more civilized or supposed to be more civilized nations, they raise the bar by saying, okay, yeah, technically you can impregnate or get pregnant at puberty, but psychologically, we've discovered people aren't really ready for that. So it's smarter to put it off for a while, huh, guys? Which makes sense because, of course, psychologically, even though physically you're capable of reproduction and sexual gratification, psychologically, you're really not ready for it at a young age, puberty or not. So, I mean, if you're living in a mud hut in the middle of nowhere, I get it. But that's not where we are in America. Urban also adds on India, Pakistan, and all the other shithole countries, as Trump would call them. All People says, it sounds like you are a great dad. It's wonderful you were eventually granted custody. Yeah, too little, too late, though. And Zane says racism as a word has lost a lot of its weight in recent years. Yes, it has. I try. I mean, I've made a lot of mistakes, and I think with each kid I did a little better. But, there's things that I've done that I was like, shit, I shouldn't have done that, or I wish I didn't do that, or wish I knew better, or whatever. But there's other things I've done that I think I kind of nailed it. That's one of them. And again, that's just living by example. Okay. Wow, Dad never drank. He's all right. I guess there's nothing to it. And yeah, it stuck with him. It stuck with him. I don't know what's going on with my youngest because we're estranged courtesy of his mother. I can only pray that he followed that same mindset, because he, the first 6 years of his life, he was with me. And hopefully he still doesn't drink or smoke or anything like that, because quite frankly, she's probably as bad as the people in the video we just saw here. And Fluke Man said mud hutters don't live as long, so they reproduce at an earlier age, obviously still immortal. Yeah. And Urban says, has anyone does anthropology studies in the twerking dances? Because to me it looks like garden variety tribal dance moves. Just saying. Yeah, it could be. I don't know. But anyway, we are approaching the top of the hour, so I will go ahead and start signing off. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and that is at Coffee Talk Live or at Prepper University on YouTube, if you wouldn't mind joining me there, as well as at Coffee Talk Chat on X, formerly known as Twitter, and fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon. So with that, I will go ahead and sign off. Thanks to everybody who was able to join us here today. Reminding you again that the GoFundMe is up and running for those of you who inquired about it. And the link is in the description and in the very beginning of the chat feed. So again, hope everybody got something out of the conversation, and we will catch you again